Okay, well, good morning, everyone. I want to take this opportunity to let you know we're delighted that you're here. We're glad that you're here. A couple of things right at the start, so I won't forget it. First of all, we are in a new location. Normally, we are in a studio over in the church building, but we've got a good-sized studio audience here today, and we're delighted that they're here with us. So this is a little more comfortable and a little bit more room. The second thing I want to do, and not forget it, is I want to recommend this resource for you, and the name of this book is Praying the Bible. I know you can't see that probably from here. Praying the Bible by Donald S. Whitney. That is a tremendous book. It will help you in your prayer life. It'll help bring freshness and newness to your devotional life. You can get that on Amazon. I think it's $9.99, $10. Praying the Bible, and I encourage you to get a hold of that and take advantage of that and use it. And so again, welcome, and I'm delighted today to have Dr. Sammy Wyatt as my special guest today. And Dr. Wyatt is a candidate for Congress in the 5th Congressional District, which is just out of this area. We have people from the 5th that listen to our podcast, and so we're out of that district. And Brother Sammy, it's a delight to have you here.
Thank you so much.
He got up at daylight this morning, drove all the way from Denham Springs, and you know, that tells me a lot about him. I think for sure that he cares about people. He's willing and wanting to invest in people, and he drove all the way out here just to be with a nobody out here in the country. So welcome to the wilderness, and welcome to our podcast, and it's a delight to be here. This morning, and by the way, the election is just a couple of weeks away. I think it's going to be an election a couple of weeks away. This morning, in the headlines, when I was up early reading the headlines, one of the things that came out in the Washington Post, and I'm just going to read it to you, about our election that's supposed to be on May the 16th. Jeff Landry suspends the primary elections until a new congressional district can be designed. And what's behind that is the 6th Congressional District, which is just next door to us. It's the 4th. Our church, where we're at right here, we're actually in the 4th Congressional District, which belongs to Mike Johnson. The 6th Congressional District is between us and the other side of Alexandria. Takes up most of Alexandria, most of Boyce, and runs in a jagged kind of a weird way up through the middle of the state. The Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court yesterday ruled that district was unconstitutional because it consisted of racial gerrymandering. In other words, just designing that based on race. And they've ruled that they're going to have to come up with a new design for District 6. My question, beginning with Dr. Wyatt here, what does that mean for us? Is this going to reshape the other districts? Are we all going to get to vote for a congressman in a couple of weeks, or are they going to redo that?
From what I understand, the candidates are still going to be the same candidates in the race for each district. However, the lines are going to change for all the districts. They're going to somehow put it back to something. I'm glad the Supreme Court, I really appreciate the Supreme Court ruling the way they did. Unfortunately, it should have never occurred in the first place because it was gerrymandering and it was politically driven because of, the governor was angry at somebody.
Right. Well, I remember in 2024 when this came out and when they did this, in the media it was actually referred to as the Landry map.
Exactly what
it was his idea to form this jagged, crazy-looking congressional district, and now it's going to cost us, I suppose, millions to redo this, and the elections and taxpayers will be footed with that bill. So it's kind of a shame. But do you think, you don't have any idea in terms of where Alexandria might fall? Or
you know, I'm hopeful that Rapides Parish comes back into the 5th Congressional District as well as a few others. But at this, with Governor Landry, who knows? I'm not sure where it's going to fall. None of us know. You know, as somebody like me, I'm not a bought and paid for career politician. I've raised some money, with utilizing. But I've put most of my own money in this. Most of it's been my own personal. So somebody like me, it's really, we have to keep putting in our personal money and I'll do what I have to do because I honestly feel, I'm fighting for the people. So I don't care where the district lines lay. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to fight for the people of Louisiana, regardless of who, if it's in Rapides Parish, North Louisiana, South Louisiana, wherever they try to do to eliminate me, because this whole thing started as a tactic, a political move to get rid of a candidate a person who didn't support Governor Landry. And that's why we're in this big mess.
Right. You live in Denham Springs, correct?
Yes, sir. I've been living in Denham Springs. Actually, it's called Watson. You know how you have a little small community close to a big town and they'll give the big town's address. I live in Watson, Louisiana. It's just a small community right outside the city limits of Denham Springs in Livingston Parish. I've been there almost, a little bit over 4 years now. I'm originally from Shreveport, born and raised in Shreveport, lived in DeSoto Parish in the country for several years. My daddy owned 40 acres of land that we cleared back in the early 70s, and I swore I would never pick up a root after that, because not only did we clear it, he had his son and daughter. We were out picking up roots for years in the pasture. But I was born and raised in Shreveport. After I graduated high school in the 80s, I joined the United States Navy. And once I served my term in the Navy, I joined the law enforcement, retired from the Bossier Police, and had a wonderful career with Bossier Police. And I served 5.5 years on the Special Weapons and Tactics team, which is where you handle the worst of the worst, barricaded suspects, hostage situations, drug, narcotic raids for the distribution of narcotics. Worked with the federal government on addressing the child pornography and child trafficking, and Lord have mercy, I'm a certified fraud examiner, so I investigate even for a living now, fraud, waste, and abuse. And so I've done so much in my career, and just very blessed.
You currently work for LSU?
Yes, sir. I work for the LSU Health Science Center in Shreveport, LSU Medical Schools, and I am the Chief Compliance and Risk Management Officer for the entire institution. And so I am very fortunate, very blessed. And I was promoted to that position in 2022. So I have, since September of 2022, I've been driving back and forth every week, going work there during the week. I have an apartment in Shreveport, and then I come home on weekends to Denham Springs.
You're on the road.
I'm on the road constantly, and only by the grace of God am I still here. I haven't had a major accident, and the more you travel, the more exposure you have to it. But
let me ask you a question, and I don't know if you have the answer to it or not. Is it really possible today, with all the money that's involved in running for politics and political office, is it really possible in America for a common person to be able to be elected to a national office?
It is 100% possible, probably more today than it was 15, 20 years ago. But the reason being, and the whole key to this, to somebody like me who's an outsider and not a politician, the whole key to us is turnout to vote. People to get the normal, regular citizen to turn out and vote. Your career, I call them self-serving career politicians, because they go from one elected position to another elected position. And, when they're term limited, they leave that off, and all of them say they support term limits, but every time the one is term limited, they go from one office to another office to another office. And they can do that because a low vote turnout is what they do. And the old saying was, whoever had the most money won. And of course, just like my opponents, a lot of these people are bought and paid for by lobbyists and special interest groups and Washington money and stuff like that, Wall Street money. But I'm not. I'm just going to serve the people. I have turned down money, even as a candidate. I know it's probably on the political side not the right thing to do, but I have to sleep tonight. And when I go to bed at night, I know with a clear conscience I did the right thing. I've stayed honest to the people. And more than anything, when I'm judged, and Lord knows I'm not a perfect person, but my faith is strongly in the Lord Almighty God, and Jesus Christ is my Savior. And I know I've been told can you believe this? I've been told from some Republicans not to say that on the campaign trail, not to talk about my faith. Because a Republican can't get elected if they talk about their faith. Well, if I can't get elected and because of my faith, then I'm just not going to get elected, because I'm not denying Christ in anything I do. Am I perfect? By no means. But I do know the one who is, and I ask his forgiveness on a daily basis. And if that makes people uncomfortable, then that's fine. You know, they may need to look in the mirror and address themselves, because I'm not denying Christ, and I will not turn my back on Christ.
Right. Well, you mentioned, I heard you say something there about term limits. Has anyone else in your campaign or in your group of people that are running, have they signed a term? I know you have.
I have, and I believe there's two young men in the race. You know that they're really nice young men, but they don't have any experience, real life experience is what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't have real life experience, and I don't think they understand what they are facing if they were to be elected. How? Because you're going to have to really be strong to go against the establishment. Really be strong to stand on your own, to stand on your faith, and they're going to come out with everything. And these are two really good young men, but they're not there yet. They just, and God bless them for wanting to serve. But I believe one or two of them have signed, but I don't think any of the elected officials have, to my knowledge.
Yeah. What's amazing, you know, to me, and people can see this, that you can be elected to a position like in Washington, go there not having very much money, and leave there a multimillionaire.
That is and I was looking, because I'm an administrator for LSU Health Science Center Shreveport, so I was looking at the U.S. House of Representatives Ethics Committee rules the other day. And I'm astonished because the rules say, of course, I would have to give up my position as administrator of LSU because of my salary. I make way too much money from what they allow for outside employment. This goes to your question. According to the ethics law, you can't make over $30,000 outside of your congressional employment, your elected office, according to the ethics law. But as you know, and like you just referenced, look at all of these people who have went in like me, just regular guy, middle income, whatever, and within 5 years, they're multimillionaires. How is that happening if, you know, I have a PhD in human resources, I have an MBA from Centenary College in Shreveport. I teach for online and graduate level school classes and doctoral level classes as part-time. I teach for Texas A&M University, one class, and I teach another class for University of South Carolina. And I do that online, remote, and just those two positions, I make about $50,000, anywhere $40,000 to $50,000 a year part-time teaching. So just based on that ethics law, I wouldn't even be able to teach a side job. And I have a federal firearms license. I sell guns, as a little business. Now I haven't been able to do a lot since I got promoted to Shreveport because I'm not there. So I haven't been able to do a lot with it. But even that, I would make more money than the $30,000. So if I have to give up just about everything I do and not even continue to be administrator, and I knew that going into this. I didn't realize the in-depth of it. You know, I knew I was going to have to give up my position most likely. But how are all of these people elected, becoming multi-millionaires in 5 years, 4 and 5 years? Right. It's astronomical. Well, I investigate fraud, waste, and abuse for a living. I'm a certified fraud examiner. And you know, there's one thing we talk about and that you're trained on, even in law enforcement. I'm retired from Bossier Police. You trust but verify. You trust those, and you try to select those who are going to do the right thing, represent the public, and do the right thing. But you also verify that they do the right thing. Not just, I would love to trust everyone, but I don't try to be cynical. But I want to elect. We're going to trust but verify. I'm going to follow the money. I'm going to look at everything from charges. Credit card charges, the accounts, the money, follow the money, and that's where you're going to see, that's when you see all these special interests and what they call K Street money. It's Wall Street. And a lobbyist, just like all the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry, and I'm a big supporter of oil and gas. I am a huge supporter of oil and gas, but I do not support in any way carbon capture sequestration because it's deadly, and I don't support the use of eminent domain, taking people's private property for the benefit of private organizations. And when you go and you look at all these people who are donating to my competitors or to my opponents, The 3 elected officials, you will see those donations from those PACs and those companies, those individuals supporting that stuff.
So that answers, I talked to you about carbon capture, but that brings up the question, and I think we all know the answer. Why is it there's hardly a politician that I have talked to that will take a stand against carbon capture? A 10th grader can go online, Google about carbon capture, and see what a hoax it is.
It's a scam.
It's a scam that's tied way even back to the climate change hoax. It's tied to the old Paris climate accords, which Trump got us out of. But I've talked to many, and they're just wishy-washy about carbon capture, and I'm glad that you're against that. And so just address that. A lot of people out here are concerned about their land and
Right.
our water.
And should be, because carbon capture, what happens when they capture the carbon and from the many different sources, when you liquefy it and you place it into the liquid form, you inject it into the ground, they're wanting to use our personal land without your permission. And here's what they'll do. They will go to a landowner, and this land could have been in your family for 100 years, or you could have bought it yesterday. But they'll go to the landowner, we're going to offer you this amount of money to put in this carbon and put it into the vacant areas below the ground. And we'll pay you this amount of money. And the landowner says, no, I want to keep my land. I want to make sure to protect my rights and my family and my neighbors. Well, these people are telling you, well, you can either take what we offer, or otherwise we're going to utilize the use of eminent domain, take you to court, and you're going to get much less.
Whether you want to sell it or not.
Whether you want to sell it or not. And here's what you do when they do that. You say, oh, I'll see you in court. Because what is happening, and 3 of my opponents are elected officials. We have 1 state senator, 2 state representatives, and then we have a young lady who is a very close friend of the governor's, who's been appointed to many things, including she's the chair of the Louisiana Board of Regents that oversees higher education. She is the chair of that board that oversees higher education. And she is close friends with the governor. Well, suddenly, now she's against carbon capture. Suddenly. That's what she says the other day. Well, I called her out on it because she is very close friends with Governor Landry, who is forcefully pushing this upon the people of Louisiana and forcibly trying to make them agree to carbon capture, agree to eminent domain. And now she says, oh, I'll stand up to him. No, she won't. She's a very nice lady, but she's a multimillionaire. Her and her family have millions and millions of dollars. And she's just going to do it's just honest. She's going to do exactly what she's told, when she's told, and how she's told by the governor. And that's just what it is. And the other 3 elected officials, my other opponents, every one of them have participated in supporting eminent domain. Every one of them have supported the passage of legislation supporting carbon capture and eminent domain since 2020. Blake Miguez, who is endorsed by President Trump, unfortunately, and just quickly on that, President Trump's not perfect. He's relying on other people, and he made a bad endorsement. And on this one, unfortunately, I'm proud to say, I think the world of President Trump, but he's going to lose. He's going to lose this endorsement.
It's amazing to me, that particular individual, and I know it's legal. It's not illegal to do that. It is amazing to me that he's running for that seat and he does not even live in the district.
He does. The closest part to Blake's home, he lives in New Iberia, Louisiana. The closest part is 150 miles of District 5 from his house.
Yeah. There was an old term for that back in the Reconstruction days. It was a term of derision. It was the word carpetbagger, like you said. But how the people respond to that? Is that an issue with them?
Oh, it's a major issue.
I would think so.
And I completely agree. I mean, who would want? I will never elect an official for any office that does not reside in whatever area they're campaigning for. It's like electing a mayor of Alexandria, Louisiana that lives in Lafayette. Why in the world would you do that? Because Blake Miguez does not have any idea the wants, the needs, the desires, the concerns, the worries. When you lay your head down at night and you're just thinking, what are you worried about? He don't know. He does not, and he does not care.
Let me back up just a little bit about carbon capture.
Yes, sir.
I know one of the opponents that's running against you in the race is Senator Rick Edmonds. I know him.
Right.
He's a fine conservative man. He's a pastor. But my question, I don't know if you know or not, did he support any of this legislatively when it was all going through?
He did. And let me tell you, I'll give you a little history about Pastor Edmund. I think the world of Pastor Rick. Pastor Rick, to tell you a little bit about it, I was a member of Calvary Baptist Church for years under Brother Step Martin. And if you know Step Martin, if anybody knows Step Martin, he was one good Christian, faithful servant of God, Baptist pastor. Hellfire and brimstone is how I refer to it. That's how his pastoral. He cared about his flock. He cared about the community. He cared about the people. Well, while I was on the Bossier City Police Department early in my career, I was a member of Calvary Baptist Church. My family and I were. And matter of fact, I've got pictures at Calvary. And when Pastor Step Martin retired, Brother Rick became the pastor for Calvary Baptist Church. And I stayed there probably 6 or 9 months. While Brother Rick was the pastor, and then I really like him as an individual. He's a great pastor, just a different style. So I was working on the Bossier Police Department at the time, so I transferred my membership to First Baptist Bossier. And I've picked at Brother Rick on the campaign trail because he is one of my opponents. But he did, and unfortunately, I'm not trying to badmouth him at all because I want everyone to know I really think highly of him. But he did support legislation. He did vote to support carbon capture, and he has supported the use of eminent domain. And that's not it's unfortunate. And people try to say, well, we didn't know what we were voting for at the time. Well, that's your job to know what you're voting for. Right. And it's just sad because I really think the world of him and Miss Cindy, his wife.
Right. When you get to Washington, what can you do? What will you do? I know it has to go through the Senate, and it's not just a House of Representatives issue. What are you going to do about carbon capture? What can you do?
Well, right now, locally, it's a state issue to where we have to, but it's federal dollars with the 45Q tax or the credit. The very first thing we need to do is eliminate that 100%, the 45Q. Then, this is not just occurring only in Louisiana. They are literally taking people's property and trying to take their rights from them and their property from them across the United States for this very same reasoning. So in the U.S. Congress, what I plan to do, one of the very first things is to do everything I can to eliminate the 45Q tax, do everything I can to make a congressional bill so we can protect the property owners' rights across the United States. Once I'm elected to the U.S. Congress, I'm going to do everything in my humanly possible to make what we have going on in Louisiana freeze in its place. And it's going to go against Jeff Landry because Jeff Landry's pushing it. Jeff Landry's supporting it. And, I agree with some things that Governor Landry's done. I don't agree with a lot of things that Governor Landry's done. But this needs to stop immediately. Put everything in freeze. Let's stop it, and then let's eliminate this stuff. Because by God, this is our rights. This is our family. CCS, if we have one leak, one blowout, if it gets in your water, if it gets in your field, it's going to kill your crops. If your family drinks it into the water aquifers below our land, your people are going to die. You can't taste it. You can't smell it. When you have oil, like natural gas, they put additives into it so you can smell it. You can even taste it, but not in CO2. And it depletes the oxygen from the air, and it will kill your crops, your family, everything. I mean, it's just so deadly, and it don't take but one incident. The industry that's pushing this wants to say, well, it's only a 3% or 4% chance, which is bull. It's not. It's higher than that. But even a 3% chance, it's not worth my family dying. It's not worth your family dying, Right. And when they take our land, they're destroying our history. They're destroying our heritage because, just like I didn't have a lot of money growing up. My mother and father worked hard. We did have land at one time in DeSoto Parish, 40 acres of land, but we ended up selling that in the early 80s when the oil industry crashed because my dad was in the oil industry. He was a asphalt paver. And so when the oil industry crashed in the 80s, he had to sell everything. I mean, we lost just about everything we had. And then in 1983, we literally on Christmas Day in 1983, our house burned down, and we literally had nothing. And so my dad had literally, I watched my mom and dad rebuild everything they had from nothing. And only by the grace of God were we able to. Were we rich? By no means. I've seen my dad leave at 4 o'clock in the morning and come back at 10, 11 o'clock at night, you know. And people, the real hardworking people of Louisiana, that's what we do. That's the way we were raised. We work to provide for our families. But when you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, like a lot of my opponents that have multi-millions of dollars, and mom and dad, you know, passing these really high business industries over to you, they don't look at our families and our neighbors and our communities like you and I do, like the gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen in this audience do, because we work, we go to work every day. When we say blood, sweat, and tears, it's not a saying. It's really blood, sweat, and tears. We get out in the heat, 115 degrees, 120 degrees, whatever it is, and we get it. You know, whether it's defending, you know, growing our crops, making sure our crops are good, our cattle are good. You know, whether we're welders, because I was a welder when I first got out of the Navy. Before I got into law enforcement, I worked at Beard Industries as a welder, because thankfully my dad had taught me how to be a welder growing up.
Well, Sammy, let me ask you this. It's a big question. You're a doctor, so I know you've got the answer to this. Crime.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
I noticed that President Sid Edwards, the East Baton Rouge president,
mayor president,
has called for, I don't know if he called for the governor or called for somebody to bring in the National Guard to Baton Rouge after the shooting they had recently down at the mall.
It's horrible.
It was horrible. It's terrible. What are we going to do about all this?
Well, you know, the politicians, it's a stump speech they give you. Oh, we're going to address crime. We're going to write this policy and this procedure. We're going to put this policy and this law in place. You know, we have laws on the books that will literally address all this. Problem is, let me tell you how it happens, and I can tell you for a fact, I've witnessed it. We have district attorneys who will not prosecute people or to the fullest extent of the law because of their donors, their supporters, you know, are high influential people. And so when people commit really bad crimes, you know, depending on who you are, of course, if you're disenfranchised, if you're low income, if you're on limited resources, they're going to prosecute you 100% as much as they can. They're going to say, look, I charged this guy and I got him all this. And the problem is when somebody with influence and money comes before that same district attorney or that same judge, they're not going to get the same treatment. Now, they can call me a liar. I'll look them in the face and tell them, you know, I'm telling the truth. And every night when you look in the mirror before you go to bed, you know it's the truth. And that's the problem. You know, I spent my career in law enforcement. I've served on patrol. I served in a supervisor over Crime Stoppers, supervisor in the Vice unit for the Bossier City Police Department, doing the drugs and the prostitution and liquor license, and which anybody that knows me, that's completely where I didn't need to be, because I was on TV for Crime Stoppers and promoting the law enforcement, and plus it's completely out of my character to do that. I mean, you really need somebody who could. I didn't fit in. I mean, because and they didn't have me fully undercover. I couldn't even have a beard at the time. And what they called semi-undercover. If you ever, now I don't know how you can say semi. People know you're a cop, especially when they can look you up, you know. And everybody knew me. But, you know, so I did that. I was in criminal investigations for 9 years, investigating violent crimes, child sexual molestation, child abuse, physical abuse, homicides of children, crimes committed by juveniles, crimes committed against juveniles. I was on the fugitive task force, the U.S. Marshal Fugitive Task Force several times, special weapon tactics. We did all this, and, you know, fraud examiner. But the whole key aspect where we keep failing, we have the laws on the books, but we have elected district attorneys, not all of them, but some of them, you know, depending on the influence, they will prosecute people depending on their influence and their socioeconomic status, on how much money they have. If they have somebody who's well known in the community, they get a different prosecution than the people, and a different opportunity than the people of the lower side, you know. And then you have judges passing legislation from the bench which is what they did with President Trump in the first, they're going, all these people are interpreting the law different, making their own rules as they go so they can attack President Trump. And that's literally what happens here in Louisiana. It's just on a lower level. So we have laws on the books. What they need to do is make sure everybody is prosecuted, and that there is real evidence of a crime, that we're not believing hearsay, that we take evidence in, let the evidence show what we do. And and that's where we're failing. Right. Give you one example. There's a young, I say young man, I'm being nice. There's a gentleman in 2000, I think it was 2001, 2002. He was shoplifting from Kroger on Benton Road in Bossier City, and they can look it up. It's on the line and in the court records. His name was Noble Bates. He was shoplifting in Kroger. We ended up in an altercation. We fought for about 3 minutes. He tried to grab my gun. It was in the middle of I think July or August. It was in the middle of summer and sweating real bad. And we literally fought inside. Then we fought through the doors, the double doors going into the grocery store. We fought in the public, in the parking lot. I got one handcuff on him. He got away from me. I've sprayed him with the chemical spray. He didn't do any good. He ran to his car. Then he hit me with the car. He knocked me across the parking lot. I went rolling. I called for assistance on the radio. He rammed 2 Bossier police cars, fled, and they pursued him into Shreveport. He rammed 2 Shreveport police cars. Shreveport police shot him through the door, and he ran 6 blocks on foot after being shot. Wow. Well, come to find out, he had been arrested and convicted with numerous felonies, but a total of 64 times, and he was out on the street. 64 arrests, and he's running out on the street. And so I almost lose my life. Matter of fact, unfortunately, there was a broadcast that I had been killed, and so naturally my dad's just, my mother had not passed yet. My mother passed at 58 years old in 2003. She was really upset. My dad was upset. My wife is upset. People are calling, and I didn't even know it, and I wasn't, of course, I wasn't killed. It's just typical reporters. But 64 times this guy's on the street, and several felonies he had been convicted of. He's serving life in prison now, thank God, because the Caddo Parish District Attorney prosecuted him to the fullest extent of the law, and that's why he's no longer on the street. But he should have been, years before that, he should have been convicted.
Yeah, and I'm like you. Law enforcement is crucial and the key component in dealing with all of that. One of the things we face here, and I think everywhere, are folks, and I'm not making excuses for people committing crime, but one of the things we struggle with and we need help with, and some things we can be involved in as a community of faith, is rehabilitation. People that are involved in addiction. That's a big thing I would like to see happen. I know several years ago, I think all of our parishes received tons of money.
They did.
On the opioid, when we got the opioid settlement. I find very little of that coming out, especially the faith-based institutions like churches. I mean, millions of dollars to build halfway houses and homes for addiction people to stay in. There was never a lot of transparency with that.
Right.
But I think that's a part of it, is that we really get involved more as churches. And honestly, Brother Sammy, something's happened with our families. There's a disconnect, not only with, it's not just crime happening and then we blame the police, but
it's the nuclear family in general. And I can tell you where the breakdown is faith. People have lost faith. I would venture to say that the Christian faith, because we have been attacked for so many years, and we knew we were going to be attacked. Christ told his followers, once you follow me, it's going to become harder. Everybody knew that, but we have to stand up for our faith. The nuclear family is under attack by Satan. If he can't get you and attack you personally, he's going to attack everything around you to get to you. Right. And that's what's happened with you look at all the pornography that we have available on the internet. The internet can be a wonderful thing, but it is a very destructive thing. Right. Social media can be a good thing, but it is a very destructive thing. We have people spending less time with their kids. My daddy, I was on tractors. You know, he taught at a young age. The very first John Deere tractor I was on was in the early, mid-70s, about 76, 77, was the old tractor, old John Deere tractor with the big wheels and the two small wheels in the front. And that's what I learned to drive a tractor on, was that. You know, bale hay, feed the cattle, feed the chickens and the pigs. And I wring a lot of neck and chicken's neck. And honestly, Pastor, in my career, I would love to wring a lot of other necks too, but I wasn't allowed to. But the nuclear family is where we're breaking down. We've got to get back in church. We've got to hold our faith. And regardless of what somebody calls us and what somebody tells us, you know, we've got to keep faith in Christ. We've got to get prayers back in school to where our kids are educated about Christ. They have done everything. The left-wing people and non-Christians have done everything they can to attack us spiritually, remove Christ from the school system. This nation was founded, one nation under God. That's the way we were founded. And if these people like AOC and all the foreigners that come in, all the Islamic people and Muslims who don't believe in Christ, they want to bring their stuff into our nation. And we need to stand firm against that and support the nuclear family. When we have people on narcotics and drugs, we need to help them. You don't have to give them a hand out, you give them a hand up. And you need to help them when they first get into this and when they first hit, you know, when they get to the bottom. Let's help them up. Let's give them resources. Putting people in jail is not going to change a behavior 99% of the time. Now, there are those who do learn a lesson, but most of the time, the recidivism rate when you go to prison, the actual prison system, is very high. A first offender in the recidivism rate is about 60%, and if they go a second time, it's going to be a 70 to 80% recidivism rate after that.
Plus, it's killing us financially.
And it's killing us financially because we're having to support these people, provide medication for these people, and life care, the total life support for everybody that's incarcerated. Mm-hmm. Now, for violent crimes, we need to, of course, hold them accountable as everything we can. If they've killed somebody, need to lock them up. Correct. There's a death penalty out there, depending on which, I am pro-life 100%. I support pro-life, no abortion. Do not believe in abortions, but I do believe in the death penalty because just like we had in Shreveport, Louisiana, just a couple weeks ago. This gentleman, and I'm being nice, this guy went and killed 8 family members. Unbelievable, just assassinated 8 family members. And we have got to hold those people accountable. And, I wish, and as bad as I hate to say this, I don't want to see anybody commit suicide at all. I had an uncle that committed suicide in 1979. He was in the country music business. He was in the rockabilly. He was partners with David Houston, if you ever heard of David Houston, country music star. He's very, very good country music star. He used to play on, my uncle used to play on the Louisiana Hayride back in the 60s. And, he committed suicide in 1979. He just thought that, and he was my daddy's brother, he just thought that life was too strong. And I don't want to ever encourage anybody to commit suicide. But before, I want to see somebody like this guy go and commit murder of 8 different, especially innocent children or anybody, then I would rather you just go somewhere and take your own life. Don't take theirs. Take your own life. I would hope they would seek help, is what I would hope they would do. And I would hope somebody, but a lot of people say, well, somebody had to recognize it. Somebody had to see it. No, that's not how, in real life, depression can be somebody sitting right across from you. Mental illness can be somebody sitting right across from you. They could be smiling, eating dinner with you, talking to you, and in the back of their mind, and when they go home, they break down crying, they break down mentally, emotionally. It's hard to see. Even professional trained people can't see it. I mean, they can see the early signs, but somebody who's been living with this for a long time, they know how to mask it. So we need to have programs to address the drug abuse, just like especially opioids, to where we have the fentanyl. It's so addictive. The crack cocaine in the 80s and the early 90s, so destructive to the community family. And it's not it's not a black-white issue. Right. It's not. It's American issue.
And there are some good programs out there that we can plug, especially men into and women. Mm-hmm. We have a men's retreat program, I call it, but it's been very, very well received and helpful for men spiritually to overcome some of these things that most of the time they won't talk about, don't want to talk about it. I think the church needs to and can do a lot more.
There's a
to
lot
help-
more the
to help
churches
in
can do.
that.
You know what I would love to see, and I was so impressed when I walked into the front of the church earlier, because it was a real church, because there is a real pew there. There is the real congregation out into the, in the building, listening to the pastor. I grew up in a church kind of like this, small church like this, and I always tell everybody, I want to hear the hellfire and brimstone. I want to hear the pastor preaching. I think the churches need, and a lot of pastors, and no disrespect to anybody who has a large church who's actually preaching the word, but we need to get off the stage. We need to take this show away, and we need to get back to being pastoring and preachers and leading the flock and representing the community, helping the community. And because there's so many big churches, not just in Louisiana, but nationwide, who are scared to preach the word, who are scared to preach that marriage is between a man and a woman. And I don't care what you think, what you say. It was marriage is of God, by God, to represent God and honor God. That's just a fact whether it is. And all these other people can say, oh, I don't agree with it. I literally had some people complain against me at my job, at my employer, because I came out against the transgender, LGBTQIA, and every other number they use. But it's just fact. I don't care if you're born a man, if you're born with a male, you're going to die a male. You can have every surgery, you can wear a dress, you can have add body parts, and if you're a woman, you're going to die a woman. You can add surgery, you can take away body parts, wear jeans, cut your hair short, but when you die, you're going to be a woman. I meant, the transgender stuff and all of this stuff, it's mental illness. It is literally a mental illness, and it's always been classified a mental illness. I have a PhD in human resources, and I have master's from business. My PhD is from LSU Baton Rouge. My master's is from Centenary College in Louisiana, and my bachelor's is in criminal justice from LSU School in Shreveport. One of the classes I took in my degree work was abnormal psychology. And in abnormal psychology, it literally lists all of these different issues and these health problems. And the gay, especially the gay LGBT stuff, the transgender, what is a mental illness. Now, they don't want to talk about it. Politicians don't want to talk about it.
I'm surprised they haven't taken that out. That was I took abnormal psychology 45 years ago when I went to college.
Right.
It was in there then. It was aberrant behavior. As a matter of fact, 40 years ago, if you applied for a security clearance with the federal government,
you couldn't.
You could not get one, so we've become so mixed up and goofy and crazy with that kind of.
Well, and what it is these politicians. I call them, and it's just fact. I call them self-serving career politicians, because they have gotten away from the Word of God. And they have focused more on the word of their donors and what their donors want to see. Their donors are donating to benefit them. These big millions of dollars, they're trying to influence legislation that's going to benefit them. And just like if you accept money from foreign governments, like the APAC, that is from foreign governments to support legislation that's going to support them. And anybody, you've got to put America first. And it's not a slogan, it's really put America first. First thing we have to do, we have to get back to God. We have to if we do not turn our nation back to God and get Christ back in our life and in our, they say a marriage is between two, man and woman. No, it's between three, man, woman, and God leading. And are any of us perfect? By no means. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes, but we have to go to the one that is perfect and ask his forgiveness and keep trying to plug through. Because as a human, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to say things we shouldn't say, do things we shouldn't do, and we just need to ask forgiveness for that. But until we turn this nation around and get back to putting God first, we're in trouble, and it's not going to be here 250 years from now.
Well, a couple of things I wanted to touch on before we go. You're a veteran.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, served in Desert Shield.
I served in Desert Storm. I was in the United States Navy, and I was on a submarine tender in the Navy. And all the nuclear submarines would come to where we were. Actually, we had got orders and were about to be deployed within 24 hours. We were going to go to the Gulf over by Desert Storm to take care of all the subs, but they ended up having the submarines come to us. And so I've gotten, you know, thankfully I had I enjoyed my time in the Navy, you know, and unfortunately, I'll tell you, I tried to live some of the Navy, I tried to uphold some of the naval traditions, and I've asked God to forgive me many years ago for that, so I don't even think about it. But, you know, I served during Desert Storm. I earned my, you know, my little badge, Overseas Service Ribbons, National Defense Service Medal, and that kind of stuff.
Appreciate your service.
That's all well and but, you know, another thing with service is, especially as a congressman, I go to the VA, to the Veterans Administration, for most of my health care. I go to the one in Shreveport to do my medical treatment, and most of the time I go to the outpatient clinic in Baton Rouge, which is where my primary care is. We've got to do something to address the health care for our veterans, because I see people waiting out there, and if you have an emergency and go to the VA, you're not getting, I've literally sat there for 10 hours one day trying to get treatment because I was sick. And I literally sat there 10 hours before I finally got seen. And there was other veterans there who appeared a lot sicker than I was, and they sat out there as long as I did. And so we've got to address this and better provide support and resources for our veterans. You look at our Desert Storm veterans, the Iraq and Iran veterans that we have coming back. We have the some Korea veterans still around, some very limited World War II veterans are still around. We need to provide service. My God, these men and women have went and defended our country. They have PTSD, they lost body parts, they've been injured, and their health is destroyed. We need to support them. We need to provide them services.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. A couple of things. The 5th District has been all over the state. They've moved it. That runs all the way to Hammond.
Currently, well, no, it goes further. Currently, because of the gerrymandering, currently it goes from Monroe, Louisiana area, it goes around, it cut out Rapides Parish now. It goes down to Baton Rouge, takes in part of East Baton Rouge over by LSU, and then it cuts over what they call the River District, the river parishes, the river parishes, Livingston Parish, Tangipahoa, Washington Parish. Of course, it gets Avoyles, and right in there where it starts, where we make the turn. And but you know, who knows where it's going now, because Governor Landry just came out and said he's fixing to postpone so they can do a new map. I agree, we need a new map, but he's the cause of all of this.
Yeah. It's confusing. I'm surprised right here at election time. Absentee or mail-out ballots have already gone. And there was some confusion. I read some articles in the paper this morning. The governor cannot suspend the election, that they have to go back and ask the legislature to do that, and there was some talk back and forth about that. So
unfortunately, our legislature and our state representatives, all of our elected officials in the legislature are going to bow down and do everything that the governor wants. So if he wants like the primary, or early voting is supposed to start this Saturday, 2 days from now, May 2nd through May 9th. If the governor of Louisiana wants it postponed, he'll get it postponed. They're going to pass it because that's what the governor wants. You know, and then he's going to postpone the regular election. So that I'm told that the registered candidates who have already registered and qualified it's not going to be opened again. I can tell you this, if they do open it again, if the governor tries to open it, I'm going to be filing a federal lawsuit against them. I can tell you, because I'm tired. All this is a political ploy. It's all politically based. And I don't care where the district lines are. I'm going to support the people of Louisiana. Even when I'm elected, Lord willing, I'm elected to serve the people. I'm going to serve all the people of Louisiana, and I'm representing the District 5 district. But you know, as a congressman from Louisiana, we have to support all of Louisiana and all the you know, and do what we represent the people who put us there. Because so many of these elected politicians, they just turn their back on us and do not truly represent us.
I remember years ago, I don't remember the dates, There was a congressman from Forest Hill, Clyde Holloway.
I've heard the name.
Was a country, ran a nursery. And they moved the fifth around. I think he was in the fifth one time and then in the sixth. But the thing that was key for Clyde, they never could beat him because he had such a connection with the people. He went to the people, he talked to the people eye to eye, and so they never could overcome him with big money or anything like that. And he won election after election. So
you know, I'll show you. This is what I do. This is like my campaign card. I did have brochures printed, but this phone number that I put on there, that is my personal cell phone number. All your other politicians, it's funny, I was in a debate and the politician said, well, here's my number on this flyer. So they give you the flyers, they give you the little brochure, and they have, this is the number to my assistant. You can call my assistant at any time. And then I turned right around and I said, well, this is my personal cell phone number and you can call me anytime. Now, if I don't answer, please leave me a message. Send me a text message, because I promise you I'll get back with you. I'm a supporter of the people, by the people, and for the people. I'm not representing these special interests and these big groups. I'm representing the people of Louisiana. And that's what these people need to understand. They can change the district lines all they want to, and I'm going to support whatever the district is, because I'm not getting... They're trying to put their particular person into the office. That's what they want. That's what this is all been about. They want their person as the United States Senator. They want their person as the representative and elected officials.
you know, it's disheartening because when this came up in 2024 or 2024, the Landry map cost Republicans a seat in the House.
It did.
And put in not only a Democrat, but put in a liberal, as liberal Democrat as you could almost find to represent the people, and it just didn't represent our values, the people out here, and now they're coming back and doing something completely different.
And what you're 100% correct. The reason all of that happened, the person they eliminated was Congressman Garrett Graves. Garrett Graves was representing the people, and he endorsed someone else for the governor of Louisiana against Jeff Landry. And when Governor Landry took over, then he eliminated it. He did this automatic, started the redistricting, proposing that, and he called it, it was the Landry
map.
The Landry map, and he was proud of it. Now they're trying to run from it. They're trying to get away from it. They're acting like they didn't have anything to do with it. But they are that's the whole reason we ended. And you're right, we ended up with and he's a good Christian man. He stands for the people of Louisiana, so they need to, it's going to take more, it's going to take a good senator, it's going to take a good congressman, it's going to take good mayors, good city council members, you know, and we've got to be careful of who the rhetoric that you listen to, because all these, I call them, self-serving, smooth-talking career politicians as well, because they all have this stump speech. They go over it time and time, and they practice it over and over. And so people don't understand. Please research these people and research what they stand for.
Yeah, we hope Dr. Fleming will win that election.
Right.
We're counting on him to win that. Let me ask you this about Boyce. Can anything good come out of Boyce?
Oh, anything good can come out of Boyce. Let me tell you.
Tell us about your connection.
I'll tell you about my connection to Boyce. My grandfather was Elliott Noble, E.M. Noble, and my grandmother passed away they were from Shreveport, and my grandmother passed away in 1985, actually October 2nd of 1985. Well, my grandfather met a young lady, Miss Esther Ritchie, I believe was her maiden name. And Miss Esther was from Boyce, Louisiana. She's born and raised here in Boyce, Louisiana. And my grandfather married her about 7-8 months after my grandmother passed away. And by God, my grandfather stayed married to her until his dying day in 2002, July. I think it was July 2002, because my mother passed away, his daughter, July 2003. So after they got married, we would come down and visit with my grandfather and Miss Esther here in Boyce. And who would have ever known that this would be up, you know, and I would be coming back to Boyce, you know.
Wow.
But I love it. I love the people here. I love, you know, I'm nothing but a regular old country boy. I've put a lot of effort into being educated, earning my education, serving the public. And I laugh because I have a campaign picture that's coming out, and you probably can see it on Facebook already in some posts, and it shows me as a Cub Scout because I was raised to support your family, your neighbors, and your country. So I got into Cub Scouts, and then I joined the Navy after high school. Then I got into law enforcement, and then I've been in higher education for 14 years, almost 14 years now. So my entire life has been for serving the people. But I've always been in position, and I've been raised, you don't take anything. You earn everything. You know, you help everybody. Give them a hand up and not a hand out. So I'm excited to be here in Boyce this morning, and I know Miss Esther passed away. She had dementia real bad when she passed, and my grandfather passed away back in 2002. But they were married 16 years, you know, when he passed away. And God love her. She had a phenomenal family.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Wyatt, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Folks, I hope you'll get out and support Sammy Wyatt in his run for Congress. Those of you who live in the 5th District, whatever that's going to be, whatever it's going to look like, and whenever that will be. And let's send him to Washington. Here's a guy that I think really cares for the people. And he drove all the way up here today, or got up early and drove up here to be with us and to be with you. And I appreciate that. God bless.
Thank you so much. And you know, the people can follow me on Facebook at Dr. Sammy Wyatt, or Dr. Sammy Wyatt on Facebook, Sammy Wyatt for Louisiana. My website is sammywyatt.com, and then they can also follow me on Instagram, Dr. Sammy Wyatt, and X. I don't do a lot on X, but it's so radical. You know, you can find some stuff out there. But you know, I would appreciate everyone's support. If you can support me financially, I appreciate that. But definitely, if you could spread the word about me and let the citizens and the public know about me, and I would love to earn your vote. Thank you.
And be sure and vote. It's amazing the low number of people in most elections that even go and vote, 16, 17% out of all the people. So he needs your vote. He needs you to get out and go and vote for him, and I hope that you will do that. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly
Appreciate
appreciate it, Pastor. Thank you so much.